All right. Arkansas wins 74-68. Missouri looked great in the first half. They go up 34-27. They take a lead in the locker room. Look, good showing for Dennis Gates' crew. Arkansas comes away a winner in this to go to 12-2. Ricky Council the fourth. You want to talk about transfers? He has 25 in this game. Jeff, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of, I don't want to say like a must win or anything like that for Arkansas, but I think it was a big one at home, right? That's a tough place to win. You're playing against a Missouri team that has a lot of momentum right now, right? I mean, they've won big games. They blew out Kentucky and Illinois. So right now, that's a resume win. And you need to kind of, I don't know if tread water is the right word without Nick Smith, but you lost Brazil for the year.
Yep.
You lost your two most talented players right now. You're without, like Mac, tried it.
No.
You know this. Like, take away your two most talented players. And these aren't like just regular talents.
No,
these are like lottery pick talents.
You're plugging holes. You're changing roles. It's it's a big task for Musselman. I just, to go to Dennis Gates in Missouri, just so impressed. I remember at the beginning of the year, everybody was saying, hey, cupcake schedule. Think about their last 4 games or so. I know they got smoked against Kansas, but then they play Illinois, right? They play Kentucky. They're at Arkansas. I mean, that's like murderer's row there. I think he'd have taken 2-2 prior to that. And honestly, with a chance to win tonight's game against Arkansas, which is obviously a really tough place to play. But, Musselman continues to do his thing and to play without his 2 best players, that's not easy.
No, it's not. And they were the way that they came out in Maui and looked. I mean, all I keep referencing back to is that Arkansas Creighton game in the semifinals, and Creighton now has won 3 in a row. They're seem to be on a much better track than they were on. They're at UConn, by the way, Saturday at noon at Gampel. Interesting game now. Yeah, but Arkansas, I know that we've talked about it, but Mac, they've gone to back-to-back Elite Eights. They're 12-2. I don't think there's any question they're going to be right there again in March and could very well be a factor. Just in a league where in the SEC, there's no shortage of challenges. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on Arkansas as a program in that league, as a job in that league. How would you speak to what Eric Musselman has been able to do in a short period of time there?
Oh, incredible. And, we talked about it 5-10 minutes ago, talked about the portal and transfers. And, he seemingly has a different roster every year. And so he's not leaning on seniors that have been in the program for 3 or 4 years. And that's been, incredibly impressive because when he took over, there wasn't a lot of shine on Arkansas. It wasn't one of the premier places you would think of when you think of SEC basketball, what he's done in the Elite Eights that he's gotten to. And, the style that they play, they're so above the rim, obviously not as much now with Brazil being gone for the year, but just how fast they play and the pace they play. I think it sells to kids that and then it just sort of cycles itself, right? You have success with some transfers. And now when you're in the spring and you're talking about like, hey, the guy that just came to us this past year, averaged 17 a game, went to Elite Eight. It's a little bit easier to get that next guy. So kudos to Eric for what he's done at Arkansas.
Yeah, I would agree that. And I think one of the things, he was ahead of the game in the portal, right, at Nevada. That's where he started it, and he kind of had to at Nevada. So he had the Martin twins.
Yep.
Both are in the NBA now. That helps you sell the next wave of transfers.
Yep.
And I think by him being in the NBA, having to deal with revamped rosters every year, different rosters, different players, has probably helped him as well. Listen, I've said this for years. In the SEC, when you talk about the best basketball jobs, it's Kentucky and then it's Arkansas. Like Bruce Pearl's made Auburn into a great job, right?
Yep.
Nate Oates has made Alabama into a great. Those are football jobs, really inherently, where Arkansas is a basketball job at its core.
Yes.
Which you don't see a lot of those in the current climate, right, Mac?
No, especially in that league.
Right.
With the amount of football programs they have that,
exactly.
Just the tradition and the goals they have for their football programs, basketball is secondary at almost every place.
I
All right,
worry about here's what I worry about Arkansas with this year, though.
Yeah.
Here's my biggest concern is their shooting.
Yes.
And I don't know if Nick Smith's coming back. I think he'll come back. A lot of people worry about right now. You hear some speculation. Rich Paul's his agent. So will they shut him down to protect his draft stock? I think he'll come back. But again, we don't know when. We don't know how effective he'll be. You know, the longer it takes, the harder. He's only played a few games as a freshman. So to throw a guy back in that needs shots, and Ricky Council's used to being the guy now for the most part of the year. So now he comes back in, they got to kind of share it. They don't have a lot of shooters. So they brought a kid off the bench tonight who was like a top 100-ish player, this kid Joseph Pignon. And he made 3 threes and at really, really opportune times. And I think you're going to see him have to play more because they don't have that knockdown shooter. And you need it with all those athletes because Anthony Black's not a great shooter. Jordan Walsh, not a great shooter. Even Nick Smith, he's a scorer when he comes back. Council's a scorer who can make threes. But so I think, again, it's going to be interesting to see when Nick Smith comes back, how do they probably need him back fairly soon here because you start bringing him back in February. I'm not sure he comes back if it gets to February.